So I've got a story to start us out. Yesterday, right, I went out to a local mall here in the lovely area in California, and freaking, I went and saw Guardians 3, which was, in my opinion, just as good as Guardians 2. Like, on that level of like Marvel movie where I was like, okay, I'm finally excited to be in the theater and watch a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I've been hearing that because, recently, I mean, it's not news to say Marvel just hasn't been capturing everyone's attention lately.
No, and especially me, an avid Marvel fan.
Yeah, exactly. There was Spider-Man, but other than that, like, well, and I guess there's the new Spider-Verse, but that's also not like the MCU. So
no, that's Sony. Sony's producing that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went out and saw Guardians 3, and I went in, with expectations of like, okay, these are like my favorite characters in the MCU, so that's all that matters to me is I'm gonna get to see them do stuff. And it was very, very good. It was a tearjerker for half the movie.
Good. And
we got an action scene with all the Guardians, and I'm not going to give any spoilers because I want you to watch it. But we got this action scene with all of the Guardians in one place in the movie. That was like my favorite action scene in all of the MCU. Like, it was up there on par with like people coming out of the portals and Endgame and fighting, that kind of stuff, where I was like, this is the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I want them to fight together forever.
Yeah.
Okay, dang. I hadn't even heard anything about this movie. I knew it was coming out, but I didn't realize it was out already.
yeah. It came out weeks ago.
Yeah, it was
really?
Start of May, I think.
I think it was
start of May it came out.
It was the D&D movie that removed all of my hype for anything else. The only thing I was focused on was the D&D movie for a short bit. So now I have to actually catch up with what actually is being put out by Marvel, not the fake D&D movie.
So, and that's not where my story ends, because not only did I see Guardians of the Galaxy yesterday, but because we weren't even planning to see it, we were just like, oh, there's a theater here, let's all go see Guardians. We went in and saw that right after Guardians, like literally 5-10 minutes after Guardians, the Mario movie was showing. And so I also watched the Mario movie yesterday. It was a double feature. I walked out, used the bathroom, bought some popcorn, and went right back into the theater to watch the Mario movie. And all I have to say about the Mario movie is it was good. It was good. It was a nice little kids movie. It felt like, a Despicable Me and Illumination style kids movie, but it kept featuring my favorite plumber. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. So I got like the Chris Pratt double feature.
Oh yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah, literally it's just Chris Pratt all day. Now I do have to say, the fight scene in Guardians and one of the fight scenes in Mario included the same song. And so it was
what?
Like, wait.
Really?
Yeah, there was a fight scene in Guardians, like an old school rock song, and a fight scene in Mario that were the same song where Chris Pratt's beating people up.
That's weird. I don't like that at all. I don't think it should be copying songs.
So, well, I mean, yeah, it was weird because I had just watched Guardians, and then I go into Mario and I'm like, wait, we're doing the same thing here.
Do you remember what song it was? Because now I'm super curious.
It was No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Oh. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm using that in my next D&D game now.
Yeah, No Sleep Till Brooklyn played in the fight scenes in Mario and in Guardians, and I was like, oh my god. But the Mario movie was good. The Guardians of the Galaxy movie was great, and I'm very satisfied with where the Guardians ended up in the MCU. But as far as like, I'm still not sure about the MCU as a whole because I haven't watched Quantumania yet, and it's on Disney Plus now, so I need to get that out of the way.
Well, how do you think Mario's going to fit into the MCU?
We haven't seen any green pipes in the MCU thus far, so I don't really know how he would get there. So I'm not sure where he lies in the multiverse, but, Across the Spider-Verse comes out next month, and so maybe we'll see a little sneak peek of him there.
All right, this was a joke, but now, legitimately, I want Chris Pratt Mario in Across the Spider-Verse, right? That's the new one.
In a Spider-Man costume.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there's some potential here because we still haven't seen how my favorite villain / hero Venom comes in. So I'm thinking he comes up through a pipe in the alternative dimension and venomizes Luigi. So we have venomized Luigi, who's the strongest character in the MC. I feel like
that'll be our next D&D villain. Is is venomized Luigi.
Yeah, we can make that work. He could even run his own, like his haunted mansion, like the old game, Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
Yep, that's the one.
Luigi does get a badass moment in the Mario movie.
Oh,
good.
He needs his moment.
Where I was like, oh man, Luigi's not like Mario's not the only badass. Luigi's a badass too.
Yeah. I was watching those trailers. I mean, I still haven't seen the Mario movie because it just wasn't a priority for me. But if there's one thing that I'm excited for about that movie, it is Charlie Day Luigi.
He was very good. And Seth Rogen Donkey Kong also very good.
Good.
Now, one thing I really want to say is there's a single Luma from the Mario Galaxy series in the movie, and it steals the show.
Huh.
Like the Luma was my favorite character in the whole movie because I want you to watch it and see what it says because it is it's the character that is kind of for the adults.
Wait, what about Bullet Bill? They bring Bullet Bill in here?
Bullet Bill had a very impressive moment too.
Yeah, he did. He's the best. I love Bullet Bill.
I heard that they there was a scene in the Mario movie where they called them, or maybe it was a bonsai bill, but he called it a boomer bill.
Boomer Bill?
Yeah, instead of bonsai. Like Americans don't know what, or you can't get behind the concept of something being named Bonsai Bill.
Just different culture word. I couldn't possibly grasp my mind around that. There's no way. It's impossible.
I watched the whole movie, but I did not catch it.
Oh, what about, I have to see now. I'm intrigued. I have to know. What about Chain Chomp? Is Chain Chomp in the movie?
There was no Chain Chomp.
What? There was no Chain Chomp?
There was no Chain Chomp. But now, this movie was extremely, extremely fast-paced. Like, after watching 2.5 hours of Guardians and then going in and it's like an hour, 20-minute Mario movie, like, they do not have time. Like, the introduction was like 15 minutes into, like, finding out how Mario and everything happens. But then going right into the plot line, we're talking about 2 or 3. We're talking one episode of The Last of Us that they had to get through the entirety of this movie.
Dang.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. It did feel very rushed. Where I'm like, this is a great kids movie because the kids have no clue what pacing is like. But then when I'm watching the movie, I'm sitting there like, wait, he just met Princess Peach and they're already going to talk to Donkey Kong? That's wild.
So since you said it was what, 2.5 hours?
No. The Mario movie was an hour 20, I think.
Hour 20. Well, in an hour 20, they have to cover 10 different worlds, right? Or is it 8? So that's quite a bit to cover there.
Yeah, and they just smash cut it, kind of like fucking like Rocky, they and they smash cut it there.
I would believe that entirely, that they take the theme from Rocky and just have him go through the worlds real quick.
They do not take the theme from Rocky, but they could have, and it would have made sense.
I really want to watch this now. I want to get some Mario nostalgia. I haven't played a Mario game, and I couldn't even tell you. I think maybe I played Mario Kart somewhat recently, but that would be like good old Double Dash.
I haven't
honestly,
played a Mario game since Mario, like an actual Mario game since.
Well, we haven't had like a main series release since Odyssey, I think, but
right.
There was Bowser's Fury that came out on the Switch, but it was like a remake of another game, and then there was this extra section thrown on top. So we really haven't had like a true main series Mario game since Mario Odyssey. But I did play Mario Odyssey maybe last year, so it's kind of fresh on my mind, and it still holds up. It's a great game.
I'll have to give it a go.
Oh yeah, Mario Odyssey is an amazing game. I wish that I was that into platformers that I could spend more time on it. But I can spend hundreds of hours on Zelda. I cannot spend hundreds of hours on a platformer.
That's fair. And honestly, it's not, in my opinion, it was not worthwhile to go back and get all the moons the second time through. But like it was fun enough to do it one time, but I don't think I'm ever going to do that again.
Once you have the whole collection, you're good to go. You don't need to do it a second time or a third time. Just do it once. Once you get that 100th thing or that last collector item, you're good to go.
Yeah, well, and the shitty thing about Mario Odyssey, too, because this is now the Mario Odyssey podcast, is they allow you to get up to 999 moons total, but like the last 100-something are just ones that you buy. So you can artificially inflate your moon counter. And now, Seth, I don't know if you know, but I feel like they'll also just let you buy your way up to 999 if you really want to. Like, you don't even have to collect all the moons that are, like, naturally in the world. So you could just waste a bunch of time.
You can buy pretty much all the moons, but I mean, you want to go out and find them, right?
Right, exactly. So that felt a little weird. It would have been nice if they just capped it at like, they didn't have another 120 moons in them, so just cap it at like around 850 or like 900. Like, that's fine. But it just felt super weird to, at the end, only have 800 some moons and then be like, wait, where are all the other moons? Oh, I got them all. Now I have to grind for coins to buy my way up to 999.
Yeah, exactly.
We're definitely talking coins and stuff in the game, right? We're not talking microtransactions here buying these moons.
No, yeah.
Okay.
It's just, but so really I wasted an extra like 2 hours just in the most optimal coin farming spot, getting those coins, dropping down, doing it again, and it was not worth my time.
We're talking for me about like when I beat Bowser, I did not play that game anymore. I was like, I'm done. But that's just how I do all Mario. It's like when I play a Pokemon game and I'm like, I'm going to totally commit and do all this stuff. I play for 1 more hour and go, no, I'm done.
Yeah, which, funny enough, I finished Brilliant Diamond yesterday.
Ooh.
And I was so close to just, jumping right into the post game. And I had to remind myself, Zachary, you are an adult. You cannot spend 200 more hours playing Pokemon. That's it. You beat it. Go do something else.
Yeah.
You go to the bare minimum. Once you get too far into Pokemon, it just starts to suck your soul at that point. It's like I've never actually completed a whole Pokédex in any of the games. I don't know if you guys have.
I completed the regional decks in in Diamond and Pearl back in the day, and then got like the national decks, and then never completed it.
Yeah. I'll usually do at least that. Like, get all the Pokemon that you can reasonably in the region, but I'm not gonna catch them all. I mean, when I first played Gen 6, I had the idea, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to catch every Pokemon that exists because it's never going to get easier than it is right now. And I was already too late. I'm going to be completely honest. It was not an achievable goal. And so I found that after roughly 300 hours in Pokemon Y, and I just realized, you know what? I'm done. There's
and one of the most efficient ways to do it now is just to do it through Pokemon Go and transfer them to your home.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You play Pokemon Go passively, transfer them to Pokemon Home, and now you've got them in all the games. Like that's what I was doing for a while. Whenever I was playing Pokemon Sword, I was like, oh yeah, we were on our college campus. I would just catch new Pokemon in Pokemon Go, and then I would just transfer them to my Pokemon Home and have them in Pokemon Sword.
I guess that's the way to do it. But at this point, 1,000 plus Pokemon, no freaking way. There are 9 I hardly engaged with Generation 8 before 9 came out, and honestly, Scarlet and Violet doesn't even look that good, so I'm probably not going to be playing that either.
Yeah, so the big thing is, after playing Tears of the Kingdom, I don't understand how Scarlet and Violet can be as unpolished as it is, where like those games, just on a technical level, are so trash, but the games themselves, like the actual gameplay and stuff, looks like so much fun.
Well, yeah, I guess that's really the thing that's holding me back from playing Scarlet and Violet, is I just don't have it in me to play a game at 15 frames a second. It's 2023.
Speaking of speaking of Pokemon, apparently the Pokemon Go community is dying off. People are getting disinterested in the game, and apparently the company's making some poor decisions on pricing and microtransactions and whatnot. So I'm interested to see where the Pokemon Go game goes at this point. If they're just gonna end up doing like a Pokemon Go 2, or they're just gonna move on to something different.
No way.
I don't know what they're gonna do. Honestly, I just know that people have been rather unhappy with how the changes have been going. So I'm holding in there.
So here's what I would guess on that, as someone who's not part of the Pokemon Go community, as someone who has dropped out of the Pokemon Go community. Mm-hmm. What I would assume is they're going to continue with Pokemon Go as is. That game has already made them, dividends for how much they put into it.
Oh yeah,
that game's already made them so much money. I think it had its time, but there's no way they're going to like restart the game. I assume they'll keep it up as is, try to get some people back, maybe do some events. But honestly, the game came out in 2016. It's run its course at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Everybody's not going to be playing Pokemon Go forever.
I might play Pokemon Go forever. We'll have to see.
I mean, I would have been there with you, Drew, but I'm nothing if not a follower. And when Seth and Sean and everyone stopped playing, I was like, well, I'm not going to be just playing Pokemon Go with Drew and everyone else on campus.
No, of course not. But that's the power of the game, though, because I'm I'm a similar kind of style gamer as that, Zach. So, if I found out that Seth and you and Patrick and Sean all of a sudden want to start playing Pokemon Go, I would 100% go right back into just going hard on this thing, like grinding it, making sure I go out every day, spit a stop, get those raids in on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. If the boys all decided to play Pokemon Go again, like my phone's on its last legs, it won't even run Pokemon Go at this point. So I would buy a new phone for this purpose, and and we would I would be the big cheese on campus once more.
Big cheese, bro.
Which that was to let all you listeners at home know, that was my nickname for like half a week at college because I caught a shiny Groudon.
Because I caught the shiny Groudon on your phone. I earned you your nickname, Zach.
Oh, that's right.
I am you.
Yeah, well, and then I named that Groudon the Big Cheese in my honor.
I appreciate it. And you ever get that going, man, I'll take that shiny Groudon. You just remember.
That was the same week that I caught my shiny Kyogre, too. Oh, the good old days.
Shiny Kyogre's cute. God dang, I love that pink thing.
Oh, God dang, I love that pink thing. Andrew Romano, 2023. Shit, 2023.
We did have a list of quotes that we've said on this podcast that just go down in history, and then one day we'll summarize them.
We should let someone do that for us in the future.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, we'll get our patrons and whatnot to do it.
Yeah, we gotta have when we have enough fans that all of a sudden they want to make lists for us. That's when we really commit.
I'm waiting for fan art.
They make the list.
I want fan art of Zach.
Yeah,
it's just his.
Yeah, all my outro characters, I think. We could, there's definitely, like, at least one fan-artable one. I don't know which one.
I know, I saw that painting you did in college of, was it Oswin holding back the giant strike?
No, Morwin.
Morwin, that's what I said. I totally meant Morwin.
Yeah. No, I did, just to embarrass myself, I did make some fan art of our campaigns back in the day. I did one of Schmidt when he beat that Wraith. And Morwin fighting the giants at Port Last. Yeah, good times.
We gotta get some more fan art, boys, or fan fictions, perhaps.
Speaking of D&D, like guys, I just gotta say I'm so disappointed we haven't played. Because all I've wanted to do is play D&D this week. I was like, oh, I got a weekend coming up. I got my schedule on track. I'm all good. Let's play some D&D. And then we didn't, and we didn't play. And I want to play D&D.
I know. I want to play so super bad. On the same note, though, I know we were about to play on Saturday, and it was like Friday night. And I was like, am I going to sit down and rework Pyth right now and list out all the spells he has, plus that new one, and then recalculate his money? And I was like, oh, thank God we're not playing. I just so didn't want to do that.
Yeah, this is something that they don't tell you about high-level play, but it does become just taking inventory every time there's any kind of break, because you're like, oh my God, what is all this shit I have? On my character sheet, it's legitimately like written by ants in the inventory section, and I've overtaken like half of the sheet with just things. Because I've brought this upon myself. As Oswin, I'm always like, yeah, I take that. Oh, I'll take that, or I'll harvest this off of this creature that we killed, and then I'll just hold on to that for the rest of the campaign. I'm never going to use it.
And just for anybody out there listening that you don't completely grasp the concept of how small the words are in Zach's sheet here. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip or read a documentary or whatever it may be about the monks that put scripture on grains of rice. You could use a magnifying glass and like zoom in, and it's got like entire chapters and books from the Bible and whatnot. It's ridiculous. You have to look at Zach's sheet. We'll have to put it on one of our media accounts one of these days, just so people can see how small you write of this sheet, Zach. It's disgusting.
All right, we could do that. I'll show the fans how tiny the section is. But honestly, it's my own damn fault. Like, I own multiple notebooks that I've bought for the purpose of like keeping track of my D&D characters. But when it comes time to do it, I'm always like, well, no, I'll just put it on the character sheet, because I don't want to have to scroll through this book to find what I have currently. So I'll just continuously write smaller until I can't read it anyway.
Do you have good vision, Zach? Because you wear glasses.
No, I have horrible vision.
So how do you read? I can't read your own sheet. I think I have okay vision for what I can tell. I've been to an eye doctor in years, but from what I can tell, I can see everything fine.
No, so that's the problem. Because last session, so we did play our first session returning to the main campaign this past week, but the last session there was a moment where I had to recall like things that I had because I wanted to create. I think it was like a potion of fire giant strength, and so I was looking through my things to figure out, all right, well, what could I feasibly use to make this, and I just. There were some things where I was like, nope, not reading that.
So if I said to you, Zach, in game, I was like, I need a greater healing potion, right? Could you look at your sheet and like, is there a glossary that you have or an index that brings you to a certain section of the sheet that you know exactly where to look for potions?
Well, so I have done that because
Are you kidding me?
No, so we did get recently, like right before we went back into hell, we took some time to stock up, and I was like, this is so many potions. How am I going to keep track of all these potions if I'm not able to find them in the inventory? So I went onto the back, and on the spellcasting section, I took one of those higher level slots because artificers aren't ever going to get 7th level spells, and so I made my little potion glossary. So that's where I keep track of my my potions now, is in that section. This is a well-loved character sheet. It really, I need to write it up again so I remember what all is on it, but it is utilized.
I mean, no, what you do is for the last like 12 to 15 sessions, you frame it like right at the end. You make it last and you frame it at the very end, and you go, "That's it, he's done."
Honestly, that I will do that. I'm gonna do that when we finish this campaign as a monument to this well-loved character sheet. So in that case, I can't rewrite it. Now it is what it is. It's a monument.
So if you're going to do that, which I actually love the idea of it, make sure you make a copy of the character sheet, because you never know, your DM might bring in your old character in the new campaign like you did with Eknon, my character from the last campaign, and you don't want to have to take it out of the frame and do more writing on it. So, have a little copy so that you could use as like a little joke or a cameo sheet,
That's a good idea.
Definitely do that. I like that.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Welcome to TableTalk Friday. My name is Zach. I'm joined by my two best friends, Andrew Romano and Seth Pittman. And I guess we've been talking about kind of how we are, but how are you boys doing before we get into the episode?
Zach, I'm living life to the fullest. I'm living like Larry, as they said in SpongeBob. I'm doing it. I'm pushing through, and I'm ready to talk about Wizards and Warlocks.
I'm doing pretty solid. This is a little weird for me. I'm never on this end of the conversation, but my brain has been fried more than ever this week, and I'm just happy to be sitting here talking about my favorite tabletop role-playing game.
Oh, what's that?
Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, what a good tabletop role-playing game.
I don't want to know what a role-playing version of Cards Against Humanity looks like.
Ooh. Make sure we put a rated R on this one.
The card says.
Oof. No, thank you.
Okay, so I don't really know anything about the UA that's come out, so you guys are just going to be refreshing me, and I'm going to be live reacting to anything and everything that's going on. So please, just run me through what we're talking about.
Yeah, so audience, I know you're looking at the time on the episode already, and you're thinking, wow, they've spent so much time not talking about these last two classes, but in general, so we still haven't officially covered the Warlock, though we did talk about it in a previous episode, and we haven't talked about the Wizard. So we're going to be focusing on the Wizard today, and then I'd like to go back over the Warlock with just some additional detail with whatever time we have left. But you've heard it here first. It's official. This is the last episode that we're going to be doing covering the Player's Handbook 5 UA, and that's a Zach guarantee.
See, we say that now, but an hour from now, when we're still talking about Wizards and haven't even touched Warlocks yet, we'll have to see.
Well, why don't we get right into it? So, in general, the Wizard hasn't been changed all that much. I think I don't know the satisfaction scores for the Wizard, but I think in general, most Wizard players would agree that the current balance in the 2014 Player's Handbook is pretty great. And then, the additional subclasses that they've added on top maybe have had some differing levels of power, but overall, the original options still stand pretty high on their own as well. So in general, we're not seeing any changes that are too significant, but we'll cover them as they come up. So just right off the bat, at first level, the one thing that you will note is the Arcane Recovery feature is no longer present. I think because the subclass has been moved to 3rd level, just like it has for all the other classes, they wanted there to be something that you get at 2nd level as a wizard, so they've moved Arcane Recovery to 2nd level, and then there's an additional feature that you get at 2nd level as well. But just to go over what you do get at 1st level, it's spellcasting. You get the spellcasting feature, and so the main change here is the wizard can use their spellbook now as their spellcasting focus, which I do think is flavor that was missing from the original wizard version. I mean, honestly, my go-to idea of what like a wizard spellcaster looks like is honestly, before I started playing D&D, was from Fire Emblem, and in there they're always showing them how they're casting their spells from their spellbook. So definitely glad to see that updated to be an option at least. And then of course we do have a new spell that wizards get access to. So in addition to the spellcasting feature, they now have an additional feature called the Wizard Spellbook. And so what they include in here is essentially all of the same rules from the 2014 Player's Handbook that was in the Wizard Spellbook like sidebar thing. Now it's an official feature, and it just walks you through all the ways that the Wizard Spellbook works. I don't believe that anything has been really changed here. It's just more explicit in the language and how it lays it all out for you. So I like that. And then they do make the one distinction that if you want to add any spells to your spellbook, you have to use the new spell, Scribe Spell.
Which you hear it right here, folks. So no longer do you copy your spells. You now have a spell to learn other spells, which is just weird. To me, it's off the wall. I kind of wish it was just just an ability rather than an actual spell. But it's pretty much the same thing. It allows you to do the same old stuff. You can still copy from scrolls into your book, from other books into your book. You can copy from your book into another book if you need like a backup or something to stow away. So that's kind of cool. I think it's just a little fresh coat of paint, honestly, just to make it feel a little better, a little more clean for the wizard. Same thing as the focus from before, where they didn't really talk to you about what it looked like or what it weighed, that kind of thing. So now it's a little more specific of what you can actually do and how you can expect it to look in that sense too, which is nice.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about the spells, the way that they're laid out here, so just like the sorcerer and the warlock have new class-specific spells that only they get. I hope the way that they lay this out in the actual book is they just give you the spells like at the end of the class or, lumped in the class area, because I would hate to have to go and look through the spell glossary to find how scribing works. But otherwise, I don't think that this is a horrible change, just because it's nice to have the rules for how you copy down a spell in its own distinct place. I feel like it'll be easier to find as long as it's included somewhere where it's actually helpful. So yeah, no big gripes about that. And I will note it's a 1st level transmutation spell, and it is a ritual. So yes, it does take an extra 10 minutes plus 2 hours per level of the scribed spell to cast. But if you have the time to scribe a spell, then you might as well cast it as a ritual. But I guess you can expend a 1st level slot if you want to. I guess that's one thing that new players might get hung up on. Even is there a cost involved? Like technically there is, but I think this version is perfectly fine. It's not hurting anything.
It's good. It's
good.
Yeah,
and I think especially as opposed to like the copying rules that we have now, where it's just like, oh yeah, you need 50 gold per spell level and you need an hour per spell level. It was always just like something that we kind of put on the side, like, oh yeah, that's just something you need to keep track of yourself. This at least it gives you a little more concrete answer of like, oh yeah, what exactly does it take to copy a spell down?
Right, and I think it even gives the not the wizard, the dungeon master the freedom to, okay, well, this is a spell. Monsters can cast spells too. So, all right, let's say this monster is a wizard, and this is how it would work. The same for them as it does for the player. I think that's it's fine. It's perfectly fine to put it in this way. And honestly, if anything, it makes even a little bit more sense that it is a spell to do this thing, because it does work. if you think about it, just like a spell would, where there's a material component cost involved in the casting of the spell, and there's not really other things that do that besides scribing spells. So again, it makes sense. I don't think it's a bad move by any means.
No, it's interesting. I think it's a well-deserved change. Another tiny little change here we have at second level that you get academic. We mentioned a moment ago. So now when you take the study action, you have advantage on any intelligence check you make as part of that action. So I don't believe this includes history checks and investigation checks. I think it's literally the study action is the non-specific intelligence use of a skill check. So if you needed to recall something that wasn't history-based, perhaps, you'd get an advantage on it, which I think is kind of nice. I don't think it was necessarily needed for wizards, but, it's a little buff for something if you really want to play into the scholarly wizard type. I think that's fine. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I believe this is something new to this Unearthed Arcana. I don't believe the study action was ever included in any of the previous Unearthed Arcana, and it wasn't something that existed in 5e. So essentially the way that the study action works is you make an intelligence check to study your memory, a book, a creature, a clue, an object, or another source of knowledge, and call to mind an important piece of information about it. And then they give you a nice little table that sort of defines, all right, well, what are the different areas of study that might apply to different skills. So ultimately it is a skill check using your proficiency with one of those skills. But wizards have advantage on all study checks, regardless of anything. I think that makes sense. Thematically, I don't have any issue with that. But I do, and I think maybe we mentioned this at some point, the study action is sort of interesting in the way that it's laid out, because previously in 5e, this sort of thing would be 100% on the DM to come up with the ruling on the fly. Like, all right, I want to recall information about vampires. Yeah, all right, is that more arcana because they're like a magical creature, or is it more religion because it's based around, like, obviously vampires and religion sort of go hand in hand with a lot of that too. Before the DM would have the option, but here they're sort of laying it out as, no, this is a rule in the player's handbook, and if you want to recall information about vampires, they are undead, it's religion, that's it. So sort of remove some of the wiggle room there, but at the same time, I think it's, honestly, if there's one thing that people have been complaining about with a lot of the new books, is how wishy-washy they are on some of the rules, so I don't mind having a more concrete answer for some of the the things that were more up in the air before.
I do find it slightly interesting that they chose to go with the advantage angle instead of the expertise. Because previously I would say go expertise, it makes the most sense, right? But since we've had the expert classes come out, I kind of like the idea that they're pushing expertise into those groups specifically, as those are sort of key staples in their builds. Versus here, I feel like it would have fit well, but they're trying to draw those lines well, which is exactly what they did with sorcerers, wizards, and warlocks here. They made sure they were all kind of grouped into their own little bubbles there.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's probably why they did that, instead of giving them expertise and like arcana or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Which would make sense. But the other thing I wanted to mention at second level, we talk about arcane recovery. It's not really much of a nerf, although I guess you could consider it a nerf if you really think about it. Instead of just getting arcane recovery once per long rest, you now get it once per day, which is fine. There's not many people that are long resting twice per day anyway. I think it just cleans it up. It makes it very simple, so you're not trying to keep track of the hours and whatnot. It's nice and easy.
I was confused. You mean short rest. So there's not multiple wizards who are short resting twice in a day.
Well, you only get it once per long rest, though.
Right. So that's the distinction. So you get the spell slot back on a short rest, but you can't do that more than once per long rest. So you can't take multiple short rests in a day and get your And I think that is probably done to combat some of the shenanigans that multi-classes had gotten up to in the past, where you can get spell slots back and then store them away for later. I mean, there was also some more explicit language in the Sorcerer that sort of took that away, and then obviously pact magic no longer exists for the Warlock, which we'll talk about. So yeah, in general, just sort of hostile design to the shenanigans spellcasters were getting up to before, but I completely understand it. I think that was a problem with the system before.
Yeah, and even the idea of pushing, just talk about multi-classing and whether it's restricting or not, just pushing Arcane Recovery to second level, I don't think it's a big deal. You're still only getting one spell back at that point anyway, so it's fine. No one's dipping into Wizard one level just to get Arcane Recovery, so it's fine. Moving up the list, though, at third level they get their subclass, which is exactly the same way it was before.
It was second level that Wizards got their subclass before, but now it's pushed back to third, which I think in low level play Wizards will be feeling this, but overall it's not a horrible change, and we'll see when we get to it. But the Wizard subclass that they do give us, the Evoker, which has been renamed from the School of Evocation because now they're naming wizards based on the type of wizard rather than the School of Magic, which makes sense. It's more or less just a couple of the annoying things about this subclass have been fixed, but otherwise it's remaining exactly the same. So not a bad option to show off first at all. But I'm interested to see what the other three wizards are that they're going to be giving us for subclasses, because obviously Evocation was one of like the staples, but in the 2014 Player's Handbook we had a ton of wizard subclasses. I mean, we had one for every school of magic. So are we going to be getting those in this new version, or are we going to be getting like Evocation, War Magic, Blade Singer, and Necromancy maybe? I don't know.
All I know is I would like to see the Abjure once again, because I love the Abjuration subclass.
That's a great point, too. Yeah, Abjuration. And I am interested to know what an Abjuration wizard will look like now, because they've shifted healing spells to be included in the School of Abjuration, too. So is that something that the wizard will even get access to? I'm not sure.
Are we thinking healing wizard here? Like what is it, the Divine Soul Sorcerer, where they're not really a healing class, but they do have the subclass that allows them to heal quite a bit. So I wonder if we will get some sort of healing wizard.
Yeah, I hope not. I think in just the general fantasy rule book, whatever that is, we all know that wizards don't heal and clerics heal, and that's the distinction. It's white mage, black mage.
No, you're right. And I agree. I hope they don't do that, but I'm intrigued to see what they're thinking there. The same as all the other classes we've talked about here with fighters and clerics and paladins and all that kind of stuff. I really do want to know what the other subclasses are, but with wizards, there's just too many choices for me to really narrow it down. I do hope, just based off my own bias, they go with the divination wizard and they rework it so it's not... I don't want to say it's terrible. It's not a terrible class. It's just not as good as some of the other ones. So I'd like to see if they rework that one and get in there. Because to me, a wizard would use divination magic. You
don't get anything else. You don't get anything else.
You get one portent, actually. You don't even get two anymore. They nerf it down. Just one portent.
That's all you need. Portent's too good.
But. Up next, with wizards here, we're seeing the Memorize spell come into play. So it is a divination spell, which makes it the second ever divination spell to ever come into wizards. That's a joke. They only have a couple though. But it's also a ritual wizard spell. So from my understanding, no other classes can get this spell. It's specific to the wizard at this point in time.
Yep, and that will be true for the rest of these features that we see. And so what you'll notice for the middle levels of the wizard is where they get all of their new shit, and then the rest of it is the same later on. I think in total the wizard now has more class-specific features, because before all they were getting was spells every level. But so that'll be nice at least to see. All right, well, I've got this new feature, which ultimately is just a spell, but it's a new class feature, and so they get this one at 5th level. And then they'll get an additional one at 7th and at 9th, which we'll cover in a second. But Drew, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead and tell us about Memorize Spell.
And so Memorize Spell really leans into the concept of what we know a wizard is now. If you've watched the newest video on this 1D&D playtest, you'll see that they're really leaning into the idea that the wizard is the planner. They learn magic, they study magic, they create magic, right? And this gives them a little bit of flexibility with their preparation. So instead of just preparing spells at the beginning of the day, you now have this Memorize spell that allows you to swap them during the day. It is a 3rd level divination, costs a minute of casting time, so you're not going to be doing this in the heat of combat. But, if you're about to do an ambush on some enemy orcs, or you're about to go into a specific dungeon, it might be handy to cast this spell to prepare something that you didn't prepare previously or you weren't expecting to need. So you choose one spell from your spellbook that you don't have prepared, and you choose another spell you do have prepared. The unprepared spell replaces the prepared spell on your list of prepared spells. That's a lot of prepared usage there. But it lasts until you cast it again or you finish a long rest. You can upcast this spell at higher levels to actually replace more, which is interesting. So if you wanted to cast this at, say 5th level, you could technically re-prepare 3 different spells in your spellbook, which I think could be pretty handy on the fly. So I like the idea that you can plan these things. You can really focus in on your master plan, your what is it, the mastermind rogue kind of a feel to this. It really makes you think about what you're doing, but it gives you a little bit of leeway if you didn't properly plan, so you could still have that role in your group.
Yeah, what I'll say about the spell is it seems like it gives the wizard. I mean, in a typical adventuring day, you're not going to get infinite amounts of time to cast rituals, but you do get a lot of time. And so what this really boils down to is the wizard now has access to all of the spells in their spellbook at any given time. All they need is 10 minutes to swap in the one that they need. That just in and of itself, like there's no limit on the number of spells you can keep in your spellbook. Well, I shouldn't say that because there is. They do in the wizard spellbook section. I believe it's 200 pages that you have. So 200 spells.
Only 200 spells.
Yeah, so pretty much all the spells that a wizard could possibly take can be in your spellbook, and then as long as you've got the main ones that you're using all the time prepared, no matter what. All right, there's water in this dungeon. I wasn't thinking about that before, but all right, give me 10 minutes. Now we can all breathe underwater. Like that's all it takes. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's really dependent on the different environment you're in too, because I know like in our early experiences with D&D, the one bad thing was like you could be interrupted in that time at any point and then have to restart. So that is something to think about. Like, okay, am I gonna get 10 minutes to be able to do this? But yes, being able to swap in your spells is very nifty, especially if you're like traveling or if you're doing multiple things in one day. Like if you're playing one of those adventures where one day in the game might go over the course of like 3 sessions.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes the wizard a lot more desirable because they do have that flexibility. Though, they've only got their one arcane recovery at this point, so they can't go for forever.
Right.
But they do have just a lot more versatility. I imagine, now that you mentioned that, Drew, I do think this might be opening the door for the DM to be a lot more hostile towards short rests and downtime because they don't want the wizard to be able to swap out all their spells. But
maybe.
In that case, just don't give them any spell scrolls. Never let them find another spell book.
Don't let your wizard use magic at all. It's broken.
Well, even with the base kit that the wizard gets, they still have an ass load of spells in their book, even without, copying others down.
So from the beginning of talking about wizards here, we said that there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of changes. It was mostly moving things around and kind of changing some of their abilities into spells, right? We covered scripting spells or what was it called? Drawing spells, whatever it was, copying them. Scry spells, we'll call that one. And then we did memorize spell. And up next, we actually have
the broken feature.
I'm gonna say it's broken. It's very strong. It's called modify spell. It lets you do exactly that. It lets you modify your spells. Not quite at the level I would say that sorcerers can with all of their meta magic options, but similarly. But different. In the same sense. This is kind of where it gets a little hazy between sorcerers and wizards. And there's 6 different options to modify your spell here. We have components, concentration, damage type, range, ritual, and targets. And all of which specifically change the spell in specific ways. So I'll give you just the first one here as an example. For components, if you cast this spell, which is 4th level transmutation, and you pick components, it removes one of the spell's components, verbal, somatic, or material. You can't remove the material component of a spell that consumes that component. So you could pick mostly any spell, and I believe there's a little bit of a restriction here, but the spell goes down.
Yeah. So it's you can't remove the material components if it's a spell that has, any material component of value that the spell consumes. So something like stone skin, right? It costs however much diamond dust, and that diamond dust is consumed. So you can't cast that, or make the spell not cost that amount to cast, because that's intentional. But you could say for I believe scrying requires a crystal ball or some valuable component, but it's not consumed by the spell. So in that case, you can remove the need to have a crystal ball for your scrying, or whatever else. In my thinking about this spell, this is not the feature that I'm super worried about. It seems cool, but I think most wizards are going to be gravitating towards some of the other options.
Which, funny enough, you mentioned scrying, and one of the options to modify spell, if you jump a little bit towards the bottom of the page, is actually ritual. If you choose modify spell and you pick ritual, if the spell lacks the ritual tag and has a casting time of at least 10 minutes, give it the ritual tag. You can modify scrying to be a ritual.
So you can just always cast it for free.
Yes.
Honestly, that would be awesome.
Now, are these permanent modifications?
No. So we'll go ahead and get down to the bottom here. So the chosen alteration lasts until you cast modify spell again. So you can only have one of these up at once, or until you finish a long rest. The altered version of the spell can't be added to a spell book or a spell scroll without casting create spell first. So modify spell is a 4th level spell. You get it at 7th level. It does only cast one, or take 1 minute to cast, and it's a ritual. So technically there's no cost involved in doing this, but you can only do it once per, and then it's beholden to the limits of create spell in order to be able to cast it permanently. But in short, eventually, some of these changes can be permanent for your version of a spell that you create using create spell. So we'll get into that in a second. But already, that's crazy that you can give a non-ritual spell the ritual tag and just be able to cast that for free. The next one that I want to get into, and this is the broken one that everyone's been talking about, concentration. If the spell requires concentration, damage can't break your concentration on the spell.
Just let that sink in for a second, Seth. Just think about that for just 1 second.
Stronger.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I think they should buff it.
It should be Actually, honestly, they should just take concentration away. Like, it should take concentration. It'd be like, oh, no, you don't need concentration anymore.
I mean, that's what I would do.
I agree. I agree and disagree with you, Seth. I feel like, realistically, they should just make the spell permanent. I don't think you should have to concentrate at all. Yeah. I think it should just, if you cast that spell, it's there forever. Like, there's
always
nobody
just there. Like, if you've got mage armor up, you just never have to get... Well, that's not a concentration spell, so that's a bad example. But you got Shield of Faith up. Mm-hmm. That's it. You're good forever.
Oh man, there are some good options there. I've listened to a couple of videos online, and someone threw Force Cage out there, or not a Force Cage. It was Wall of Force. I'm sorry, Wall of Force. So now you wouldn't have to concentrate on that. It can't be broken. So you have to disintegrate it or wait for it to end, which is like 10 minutes. So you could trap someone in a cube, and then if they don't counterspell it, that's it. They're in the cage for 10 minutes.
Yeah, or whoever would be attacking you to break your concentration. I mean, they just have a new win condition, and that's kill you. So.
It becomes a kill the wizard type of situation here. The wizard's the medic. Okay, I gotcha.
Now, your spell could still be dispelled. So if they were a caster, if there was a caster, they could dispel it.
That's true. Yeah. Does dispel magic work on Wall of Force?
It doesn't. So that's where it gets kind of interesting, because I feel like you could use dispel magic on people to get rid of their concentration or whatever it may be. But if you try to dispel Wall of Force itself, no. I believe it's only disintegrate or wish that gets rid of Wall of Force. So if you were to dispel the caster, it would probably work, I would assume.
Okay.
Makes sense to me anyway. But we'll jump into some of these other options here because I know we're running low on time. Damage type, which is kind of like a transmute for sorcerers. If the spell is a damage type, replace it with one of the following types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, poison, or thunder. If the spell has multiple damage types, you can change only one of them. This is cool. I don't see a reason not to have it. It's not broken or or terrible. It's just a good option to have. So.
Yeah, and
that's one of those that I really like for like the planning wizard. You know, like they're like, okay, I can cast fireball, but I know we're going against a red dragon. Let me make it so I can make it lightning.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about this is it does make it something that we've done in previous campaigns is, hey DM, can I change the damage type of this one spell? I just want it to be this different damage type every time I use it. So you can work around that. And notably, radiant damage isn't included here because most things don't resist it. But in any case, even with the options they give you, it's nice to be able to say, okay, well, I don't really envision this character as a fireball throwing guy. Can we make fireball into poison? Because like I'm a poison themed wizard,
a poison boy.
Yeah, now you don't have to beg your DM for that. Now it just exists, and you can make that happen for yourself. I think that's awesome.
This does make me think, because in our games today, as a homebrew rule, our DM does allow us to do exactly that. It allows us to say, if you want Firebolt, you can make it Ice Bolt instead, but it's got to be that way forever. Does this, to you, Seth, does this spell change your idea of how this rule should be used? Will you take this away at our table because this is an option now, or will you keep it the same?
No, leave it the same, because then like if you want your fireball to be made of ice, and then now if you want it to be fire, you have to modify it.
Okay, I like that.
So I mean, it still works the same way in my head. Like you created the spell when your character learned the spell, they learned it this specific way, and if you want to change it back to the original way, you have to change it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine with me. And really the damage type thing is not the main thing that you're getting out of modify spell anyway. So the last couple options, range, if the spell's range is at least 5 feet and it doesn't have a range of self, increase the range by a number of feet equal to 30 times your wizard level.
30 times, boys. Just to be clear, I did the math on this previously. I think it's a 600-foot range on counterspell. Just saying, if you're maxed out level 20, this is your counterspell option right here. You're doing range on this thing for sure. Why would you not want just a super effective long range counterspell snipe on your wizard? That's just sick.
That is pretty sick.
And then the last one is targets. If the spell affects more than one or more creatures and it doesn't have a range of self, it now affects only your allies or enemies you choose when you cast modify spell.
I love it.
Yeah, awesome. I don't know of any like AoE helpful spells that you'd really have to exclude the enemies from more often than not, but it's cool to be able to exclude your friends from your harmful spells permanently. So, immediately comes to mind Fireball. Obviously, you're sort of doing the same thing as the Evocation Wizard or Careful Spell by negating the harmful effects on your friends.
Well, I have a thought now because I'm reading the wording of this, and maybe it's intended that way. I'm not sure. It says if the spell affects one or more creatures, not targets. So if you cast Darkness and you choose to target only enemies, would your allies be able to see within this?
Yes. Yeah, because it only affects your allies or enemies.
Interesting. Okay, so there's some plays with this.
Yeah, that would be nasty.
That would be really I want that built into the Necromancer Wizard for sure. That would be cool.
Well, see, you have a party of wizards. One of them has Fireball that casts this. One of them has Darkness, and everybody's inside the exploding darkness just fighting.
Honestly, I feel like that's the meta at this point. If you want the most powerful adventuring party possible, everyone goes wizard. Once we get to the point we can cast modify spell, the game's over.
Ooh. I'll have to do some more studying because I feel like with all of these options, because we've already thought of a couple that are very strong, I feel like if you really think about it and do some deep diving here, there's some serious synergy with some spells out there. So we'll have to do some digging.
Wizard is just the perfect multi-class now.
Well, it is a pretty good option. Yeah, because
you just go Fighter, Bladesinger, Wizard.
Yeah,
and now you can modify your spells to the point where they only affect or to where you don't have to concentrate on certain things or whatever, damage doesn't affect it. So you can just go in as a loose cannon.
Now the one thing about this spell that may be a little powerful is you can upcast it. So if you cast using a spell slot higher than of 5th level or higher, you can choose an additional spell modification for each slot level above 4th. So as you level up,
crazy.
You can say, all right, well, I don't want concentration on this spell, and I want to change its damage type, and I want to change the range, and we'll give it the ritual tag. I don't think that would ever work,
Jeez.
but you could do that if a spell met all those criteria.
That's ridiculous.
And then with create spell, right, you can copy it down and have it forever.
Exactly. So we'll get into create spell at 9th level. You get this 5th level spell. This does not have the ritual tag, and you have to cast it as a reaction in response to your self-casting modify spell. So it happens at the same time you use a 5th level slot. And additionally, you do require an arcane focus, which the spell consumes, worth at least 1,000 gold per level of the spell altered by modify spell.
That's
so this
nothing at level 10 plus.
Yeah, but it is costly to be able to do this on many spells, but you can definitely do it at that level. I'm sure you can do it on at least one. But in any case, it does take concentration up to an hour. You synthesize your arcane knowledge and power and strive to create a new spell. To succeed, you must concentrate for 1 hour and meditate on the spell you just altered with modify spell, otherwise the spell fails. If you succeed, you must start casting Scribe spell within the next 10 minutes, and to add the altered spell to your spellbook. Once the spell is in your spellbook, it becomes one of your known spells. It gains the wizard source tag rather than the arcane tag, and it gains a name of your choice. So you can call it Pyth's Pretty Palace if you really want to.
I'm definitely calling it Pyth's Pretty Palace. It's got to be.
It's the same thing, but you can cast it out to 600 feet.
I cast Mordecai's Magnificent Mansion, but I want to do it over there, and then walk over to it so I can get inside.
Seth, I don't think you were here the other day when we were discussing it. I actually cannot. We only did it once. We found out I cannot extend the duration of my spells past 24 hours. So everything else I've been doing is fine, except for last session, but technically it wasn't supposed to be a 48-hour Magnificent Mansion.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
So now we know. But aid and mage armor, all that kind of stuff, it still works out at 16 hours.
Cool.
I was abusing it. I was a dirty cheater.
Yeah, I mean, you really just powered up the entire party past your limits last time.
Yeah, honestly.
So, maybe we'll just have to take it all away. I'm just kidding.
I do just want to just give my 2 cents here and create spell. I really like the cost of this thing being 1,000 because it's expensive enough where you're not altering all of your spells, but it's cheap enough to where, as a wizard, it would be easy enough to go up to a wizard and be like, oh, wow, you have your own version of Fireball that's acid splash that you could do at a farther distance, and it's got a different damage type. Like, to me, that's very neat. It really puts the wizard where they're supposed to be on the totem pole of casters. So I like it. It's only that 1 per day or the 1 per casting of this. So it's not busted. I don't think you could definitely do some busted things with it, but as it is now, it's not terrible. They may finesse it a little bit just to get a little coat of paint on it, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like the response to the concentration thing has been outspoken, so we might see that dialed back. Personally, I know that wizards are already plenty powerful. They don't need it, but I love it, and I want to keep it just as it is currently. Also, we didn't mention, but as a part of Modify Spell, they do note that you can change like the color and smell of things too. So I do like that flavor. And in general, I agree completely, Drew. I think that the ability to modify your spells with enough prep time, because of course that's the wizard's a nerd. They're not going to do it on the fly. They're not cool an artificer. But but with enough prep time, they can make these modifications. I think that's perfectly fine because other wizards do it all the time. Mordenkainen has a handful of spells named after him. Why can't my wizard do that?
I'm a big fan of the wizard, as you guys know. It's probably my favorite class, and I want them to be as powerful as possible. I love all of this. I do find they are extremely powerful now, even without subclass abilities, and I'm like, maybe this is going to cause problems for me in the future, but I'm totally cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, really. I mean, ultimately, if we think the power is too much, we can homebrew to dial it back, but I think, generally speaking, without the full picture in front of us, of course, and all the new multi-classing synergies we can uncover once we've got a bit more information about the other subclasses and what have you. For right now, I think this is cool.
Yeah, I'm digging it. The rest of the class is not too different for the most part. 15th level, we do get Spell Mastery, which they had before. I believe it was 18th level that they got this. So they just pushed it up a little bit, which I think is fine. I don't think it's a busted ability by any means. You get to choose a first level and a second level spell that are in your spell book, and you can cast those basically at will. It's cool. It makes sense that a super high level wizard would be able to cast, like a sickening ray or like a
shield.
Yeah, like why shouldn't they be able to do this? Right there. They could almost learn Meteor Swarm here.
Scorching Ray every turn. Every turn they should be using Scorching Ray.
At first level, let's do it. Or I'm sorry, second level, let's do it.
Yeah, please. At 18th level, they get their capstone feature, which was at 20th level. Signature spells, which essentially you do the same thing. You choose 2 third-level spells, and you always have these prepared, and you can cast them once at 3rd level without expending a spell slot. When you do so, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. But again, removing that cost of casting these spells, so you always have a pocket, fly, and a haste ready to go. You're not wasting any of your resources on that because you've been casting this for X amount of time. I think that's perfectly fine. And then at 20th level, you get your epic boon, just like everyone else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They didn't change too much. At this point, you can see that they reworked it, but it's not entirely different from what the Wizard was before, which is, I think, was their goal because the Wizard's so beloved at this point. Yet it didn't want to change him a whole lot. And to Zach's point, I do want to know what the satisfaction scores are to see how people feel, specifically about this concentration thing going on. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think the last day to do your survey is June 7th, so make sure you get that in when you have a second.
Yep, yeah, and that is now live. So everyone get your survey results in so they get your feedback. But yeah, in general, I don't think the Wizard, definitely they're not going to be hurting for power. But if anything, maybe Wizard players at 2nd level will now feel a little bit weaker than they did before, obviously, because they're not getting their subclass and their special features from that. And so really all they're getting at that level is something that they should have had at 1st level and advantage on intelligence checks. So I don't know. It's not enough to make me upset, though, because obviously everyone's getting their subclasses at 3rd level now, and once they do hit 3rd level, they'll feel just as powerful as they did before. So it's really a 1-level gripe to get through to a much more powerful Wizard in the end.
Agreed. I think it's worth just the unity of everyone getting their subclass at level 3. It just makes everything way easier than trying to remember if it's 3rd level or 2nd level, or if you start with it's just 3rd level across the board, easy peasy. You don't have to think about it. So I'm all about that.
It's also just much easier for me to start campaigns at level 3.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Everybody gets their subclass. This is where we're starting, or that's one thing I was thinking about a little bit whenever we were talking about everybody getting their subclasses at level 3, because I typically like you guys to start with a lot of characterization, right? But you could always start with a little bit of backstory, getting you guys through 1st and 2nd level, and having a time skip to where you guys have actually acquired those things. I don't know. I've been trying to think of different ways that campaigns could actually be arranged at this. I know that's not about what we're talking about today, but it's been on my mind.
No, I've been thinking about that too. There's been a part of me for the longest time that really just wants to do a JRPG intro for the party where you guys are the chosen ones and we start you at 1st level, but then you meet this powerful entity that reveals your destiny, and then, sending you on your way, you get these magical artifacts that level you up to level 5 or some shit. And then you start your real thing. I feel like that would be, if not super kitschy, fun, because, we all engage with that kind of media. We get, maybe Drew less than some of us, but we've all seen, I don't know, Star Wars.
Well, I'll bring it back to an old throwback game for anyone that's played Mortal Kombat Deception, the old game. If you play it the PlayStation 1 or 2 or something like that. The concept was you were this character named Shujinko, and you had to run around and train to collect all the Kamidogu, which would let you travel to all the different realms and whatnot. And so you would meet and train with all of the fighters in Mortal Kombat, and they would teach you their abilities, and you'd transform into them, and you go into little tutorial mode, and you learn the other characters, right? But the premise was like you're a young character, and then you meet like Master Bo Raicho, and he trains you for like 3 years. So it does like a little montage training thing. And then when you're done, your character model looks older, and you have like different movesets and stuff, which was very cool. Like that's kind of what it makes me think of.
Yeah, that's sick.
It was pretty dope. But the last part of the wizard, I don't think we discussed, was the subclass of the evoker, which to me didn't look drastically different. I am not a wizard evoker connoisseur by any means. I have never played this class. It looks pretty strong, though. It seems to be mostly about dealing extra damage as the wizard, which I'm all about if you want to start casting fireballs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. So at third level, they've added the feature, which I think is going to apply to all the wizard subclasses. They get 2 additional spells that you can add to your spell book. They are both evocation spells. So now, I believe, let's see, you can add those to your spell book without needing to cast Scribe Spell. Okay, never mind. So it doesn't increase the amount of spells you can prepare, but you do get 2 additional evocation spells, and then there's the additional element where whenever you cast Scribe Spell, the gold cost and casting time is halved for evocation spells, which that's typical.
I actually love the idea that once you get your subclass, you immediately get 2 spells of that magic group. I think that's important. I still, to this day, I'm a 15th level wizard, 16th level wizard, or something 16th. Like that. I still struggle to find divination spells because there's so few of them. And it would have been extremely handy if at 3rd level I was given 2 divination spells right off the bat. That would have been really cool to not have to think about it and trying to hunt those things down. Plus, it makes you feel more like a specialist, right? If you're a wizard in abjuration or evocation or transmute, whatever it may be, right? It makes sense that when you have your subclass, you get to that level, that you at least have a few of those things to sling around. I mean, it's very possible to be a divination wizard with no divination spells. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. So I actually love this, and I hope they continue with the other subclasses of wizards to give them these 2 free spells that really let them play into their role in the group.
Agreed. I do wonder what those spells would look like for, say, a war magic, or if this will be something that they include for all subclasses, or if it'll just be the ones that were schools of magic before. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, maybe instead of like the extra spells for war magic and stuff, they give them those like special abilities or specialization spells, kind of like they have for the for like modifying and creating spells. They might just have like, oh, here's your special war magic spell, your special blade singing spell, or something.
That's true. Yeah, maybe they'll make Blade Song a spell that you can do, and then it works like that rather than.
And it requires no concentration
whatsoever. It doesn't need any.
Yeah. Well, did blade singing require concentration before?
No, I don't think so.
It honestly should. It's so powerful.
Maybe it did. I don't know. Yeah, Blade Song is powerful as fuck.
But yeah, in any case, the only other thing they changed, Sculpt Spells is exactly the way it was. At 6th level, you get Potent Cantrip, which the only thing they've changed here is it used to be when you cast a cantrip that requires a saving throw, even on a successful save from the enemy, it'll still take half damage from the cantrip. Now that applies to missed attack rolls on your cantrips as well. So honestly, I don't know how many wizards really take shit like Acid Splash or what does Chill Touch require a save? Spells like that. Yeah, if I'm an evocation wizard, I'm not fucking around. I'm just going to take Firebolt. And so getting half damage on a miss is awesome. It's something that they've played around with the weapon mastery system too, so I don't see why a spellcaster can't get that, especially if it's the fireboltingest wizard, I guess, is probably what an evoker is. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I actually like this because you were making fun of me the other week, Zach, when I kept making... we were talking about the martial classes, right? And the Graze weapon mastery they could have, and it was only a melee thing. So now wizards get Graze on their firebolts is what it is.
That's true. Or I guess if you wanted to do a green flame blade, it would work the same way too.
Oh, yeah. See, that's actually more fun. I actually kind of like it in green flame blade. But see, I still like the ranged option of Graze, though. Because I still want to be that Graze Ranger, man. Graze Ranger with like a big old bow.
Well, maybe you could be a Grazed Ranger Wizard somehow.
We'll figure it out. We'll get there.
And then at 10th level, they get their Empowered Evocation, which lets you add your Int mod to 1 damage roll of any evocation spell you cast, unchanged. And then 14th level, they get Overchannel, which is also unchanged. I believe it's once per long rest. You can do max damage with an evocation spell from 1st to 5th level. So, we're putting it into Cone of Cold. And I guess if you want to modify that Cone of Cold and make it a Cone of Flame, or, whatever else, be my guest. And then, additionally, if you use this feature again before taking a long rest, you take 2d12 necrotic damage for each level of the spell immediately after you cast it. And then this damage increases again each time you use this. So basically,
it's like Donald Duck casting Zeta
exactly
in Kingdom Hearts.
Jesus. Think about how cinematic you could actually make this, though. You have like an NPC wizard, right? So if you're running a game, you have an NPC wizard that's traveling with the party, but there's some ungodly, crazy creature that's chasing them, and he sacrifices himself. He overchannels like some 5th level crazy overchannels like a steel wind strike. And just strikes down the enemy. Yeah. But he burns too much of his own energy. He falls to the ground. The rest of the party's forced to flee as the monsters take him and eat him. Oh, that would be cool. I love that.
Okay, I love that. That thematically, that's amazing.
Oh, I really want to use it though. I really, really do.
Well, it's along the same lines of like a barbarian or a samurai or something getting back up and fighting past death and then dying at the end.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think all characters need to have a feature like that to where they can just give up their life.
You know what? All I'm thinking about now is I want Death Ward casted on me. I want Death Ward and use this twice a day.
I mean,
strong.
Yeah, you could do it.
You just Death Ward and have a wizard continuously overchanneling.
Yeah, well, think about it. The wizard's on his last feet. He's got like 2 hit points on the ground. The cleric reaches out and gives him the Death Ward, the little energy flowing into his hand, into his book, and he just, with the last little bit of his life, blasts out the spell. Oh, that'd be so cool.
I mean, that is disgusting, though, because if you're at 1 hit point, you could have a cleric there just to continually cast Death Ward.
Yes.
And so that's what you're doing every turn is just more power.
just a cleric, paladin, wizard party.
See,
well, does Death Ward even work if it kills you outright?
I think it does. I think it negates it entirely because it's a spell designed for that. It's a 4th level, I believe.
Yeah, but still, I mean, at that point you could make it 4d12 per level of the spell. Like that's 4 times 5? That's 20 d12 that you're taking. No wizards surviving that.
You could. Oh no, can you? Oh, I don't think you could. I was going to say you could contingency Death Ward, but I don't think you can. I think there's specifications on contingency that say you can't do it. I'll have to look into that, see if that's possible.
I don't think wizards get Death Ward is the issue.
Yeah, that might be it. Dang. Oh, but now I'm going to play a cleric, though. More reason to play it. Let's do it.
and I'm gonna play a wizard. So.
Yeah. I'll just keep reloading you every turn. That's my actions, just to reload Seth.
I think for when this player's handbook comes out, I'm either going to play a bard or a wizard first, just because I like all the new stuff for both.
I am a big fan of the wizard. I think last episode I mentioned, though, it's got to be sorcerer for me, because the new sorcerer just really, if you've ever wanted to play an anime character in D&D, it is the new sorcerer, I think, Seth.
I have not listened to that episode yet, so I need to catch up, because I don't know about the new sorcerer stuff.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they get a new Super Saiyan form, and they can do a bunch of wacky shit with their meta magic. So
okay, perfect. Well, then I'm gonna play a sorcerer next time. Sorry, guys. Sorry, wizard. I'm gonna play a sorcerer.
Make sure you listen to that episode, Seth, because Zach brings up actually the newest subclass of sorcerers, which is tentacle magic, or tentacle sorcery that they call it. It's pretty strong.
I love that.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that they picked, rather than draconic sorcery, which would be ridiculous if they called it that. It is tentacle magic, though. You're right.
It's the sorcerer meta. So let's see. We've covered the subclass here. What else do we have left for wizards? I think that might be it.
Yeah. One thing to note, since it's on the arcane spell list, wizards can cast Hex now. Which is
cool.
any of the specific warlock spells minus Eldritch Blast.
Okay. I'm into that. Also. So they're still getting 22 spells in total, which seems normal. I believe the spellcasting preparation goes back to the old rules now on this one, unless I read it incorrectly. So they no longer prepare the amount of spells per level of the slots, so that you can actually choose your spells again. So if you want to prepare 22 9th level spells, you could.
Yeah, that is correct. So now they've split it up again, so you've got your number of prepared spells and your number of spell slots per level, and those are not intertwined, which I hope they go back and keep that for cleric and druid and all the others.
Yes.
But at least for spellcasters, they've made the distinction. No, we're not doing that shit. That's cool.
Fun little question. I was reading where'd it go? The starting equipment section on the new wizard, and it says arcane focus. Obviously, you would get one of those, and then in parentheses says quarterstaff. Which to me, I don't remember the wizards having quarterstaffs before, them acting as a focus, especially not like the default one. I would imagine it would be your spellbook, but they mentioned specifically in this new one that it can be now. I had always assumed your spellbook could be your focus, but on top of that, they also did not mention component casting at all, which I think is very intriguing.
That is a good point, but wizards do naturally have the ability to cast using a focus, so I guess... obviously, starting equipment, they say you start with the following equipment, or you can forego it and spend 55 gold. So you can choose to take a component direction like you have with Pyth if you really wanted to. But I think they're leaning the wizard in the direction.
I would just do what we currently do, and if you take a component like direction, that's just like, we'll just consider that your focus. Like if you're taking a focus and you say, I take a component pouch, yeah, you have the materials on you to cast the known spells you have.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's more fun than looking for specific components to cast your spells. I don't think, Eldritch Knights and Rangers are really hurting for any reason. Honestly, the number of spells that they get access to is so low already. Like, why are we trying to limit their ability to cast even more?
Exactly.
Agreed. I think that is about it for wizards. I'm digging them. I like the niche that they've dug out for them. They're not drastically different, but in the same sense, there's enough new content that I want to play one again. I'm actively playing one now, so I think that's good news. I would imagine.
Yep, and so as we mentioned before, we did cover Warlocks more or less with Seth on our The Boys Are Back episode. So if you want to dive into some of the things that they've changed about Warlocks, you can go there. Just to note some big changes for the Warlock, the highlights. So they've redone it all. No longer do Warlocks use pact magic for their spell casting. Now they use the spell casting feature just like everyone else. But they are a half caster, and so at 20th level, they only get up to 5th level spell slots. Now all of their higher level spells, just like they were before, are attributed to Mystic Arcanum. So in general, Warlocks have a lot more spell slots, but they're limited in the ways that they can cast their higher level spells, just like they were before. Additionally, a lot of the Eldritch Invocations that gave you a spell that you could cast using a spell slot, because that did exist. Like Children of Chaos was one that I used as an omen that required a spell slot, but it was an Eldritch Invocation. Now there's no more of that bullshit. If you have a spell that would require a spell slot, you cast it with Mystic Arcanum if it's an Eldritch Invocation thing. In general, so they've swapped the pact boon to 1st level and the patron to 3rd, because the patron is more or less the subclass and the pact boon was some extra shit. So Warlocks still do have a lot of options. Like I mentioned in our previous episode, their spellcasting ability is now decided when you get your pact boon. So you can use either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma as your spellcasting ability, and that all changes your different class features as well. So, like, for example, the Pact of the Blade now does what only the Hexblade did before, and they can use their spellcasting ability modifier for their attacks. Really, that feature alone really makes me want to play a Warlock, but multi-class. So I want to take my Wisdom spellcasting modifier and run with that and play a ranger or a cleric who uses that. That would be awesome. But yeah, so there were a ton of changes to the Eldritch Invocations. The subclass that they decided to go with was the Fiend, which I don't believe was changed all too much, though they did. We'll walk right through it right now, just for fun. So they did. They made it so that their patron spells now don't expand your spell list. Now it's like a domain spell for a cleric or a paladin. They have a number of spells that they always have prepared, and they can cast one of them for free once per long rest, which is consistent with clerics and paladins in the new Unearthed Arcana. Dark One's Blessing is now triggered not only if you drop someone to 0 hit points, but if a creature within 5 feet of you also drops to 0 hit points, so it's a little less hostile in the way that the Warlock is always kill fishing. Now they don't have to do that. Let's see. Dark One's Own Luck can now be used a number of times equal to your spellcasting ability, rather than once per long rest. Fiendish Resilience is no longer bypassed by magic or silvered weapons. And Hurl Through Hell can now be used again if you expend a spell slot of at least 4th level. The feature also now includes a saving throw for the target, which is a little disappointing. This is a feature that Nomen would have had if we got up to 14th level, but I was looking at it. This is... Hurl Through Hell is awesome because, essentially it doesn't require a save before, and it's 10d10 psychic damage that this target takes as you just hurl them through all 9 layers of hell.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Oh my god, that's really
cool.
sick. It makes me think of like how you would fall through one of those prismatic spheres at 9th level.
Exactly. It's like a prismatic wall, except every layer of the wall is a layer of hell, and you send them through that. Before there wasn't a saving throw required, but now let's see, it's a Wisdom save versus your spell save DC. On a failed save, the target takes the 10d10. On a successful save, it takes half, but that's still nothing to sneeze at.
It's kind of crazy though, because in our current campaign, we're trying to work down to the lowest layer of hell, the 9th layer, and we could just beat the campaign by having this ability.
Yeah, just have a fiend fucking Barrel. Have Barrel show up. I'm sure he could do that.
He'll
just whoosh, down through all the layers.
How does it feel, Seth, to just completely derail your campaign with one 14th level ability as a Warlock?
Well, you guys can teleport to hell at any point. You guys already know that. Or to the 9th layer.
Yeah, we just need something from that layer.
No, you already have something.
We think so.
Oh yeah, well, we do have. Well, what was it? It was the piece of the ruby rod. Did we take that with us?
That's right.
Oh gosh, I don't want
I think we did. I'm pretty sure we took that with us.
Who's holding that?
Yeah, you, Varys.
We need to take that from Varys.
Yeah, next session we'll mention.
Yeah,
hey, Varys.
At any point, you're allowed to just teleport there, so you can end the campaign whenever you want.
That's too scary.
Yeah, but we got to level up to 20th level first.
Yeah,
that's the contrived reason that we're going through all the layers.
So one of my problems with the new Warlock is it actually looks like it's missing one of the pacts in the text, because you have Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, Pact of the Tome, but it didn't include Pact of the Good Old Gamer, actually, that allows you to get extra content at our patreon.com/TableTalk Friday. It's actually one of my personal favorite packs. I'm surprised more people don't use it, honestly. I feel like it's more of a meta in the Warlock community, but I haven't played a Warlock yet, so I mean, maybe you guys know a little more about it than I do. But
Drew, once again, I just want to let everyone know.
That one. I was expecting it.
No, I wasn't, because I thought you were going to say Pact of the Talisman, which is actually one that's not featured here. I was going to be like, yeah, you're right. They didn't include that. That's so interesting.
Which I love that Seth completely saw through my guys, but you have enough knowledge, Zach. You've read all the books. You know every little piece of text of these things, and you just happen to pull one extra pact out of your butt there.
Yep. I'm a 20 int 6 wisdom character, apparently.
6 wisdom. Gosh dang it. But seriously, guys, come check out our Patreon/TableTalk Friday. Get some early access clips to all of our videos. Also some post-show content that we're going to record probably pretty shortly after this episode here. So, stop on in, say hi to the community, and see what's up.
And with that, Thank you so much for listening to Table Talk Friday. My name has been Seth Pittman. I was joined by my two best friends, Zachary Carvon and Andrew Romano. We talked a lot about wizards, warlocks, everything in between this week, and all the new features you're going to see upcoming in the new Player's Handbook. If you'd like everything you heard, remember you can find us on patreon.com/Table Talk Friday. You can head over to Table Talk Friday and get all that exclusive content like the post show we're going to record right after this. We also have social media accounts, Twitter, and many other. You can find our shorts on TikTok and YouTube as well at Table Talk Friday. But with that, can I have the talisman take me out?
Thank you for for listening. Oh boy, I've just got all these calluses on my vocal cords. It's it's just really don't smoke, kids. This is what happens if you smoke or vaping too. Apparently vaping does this as well, so don't do that. Anyway, thank you for listening to the show. Have a good night.